About gaming today, and you know, gaming's been crazy for a long time, but you know, the gaming that we're thinking about today, and this social gaming, is just really gone nuts. I mean, we're talking about 50 million people, kind of a quarter of the U.S. population's in there playing every month. I mean, I can't imagine that. Just you know, and it's projected to jump 30% this year. You know, money's coming in, over $1 billion in revenue, and we're going to talk about show me the money here in a minute, but there's a lot of money rolling into this thing. And the individual stats are just really fun. You know, like a hotel that we're going to be talking about this morning sold more virtual furniture than IKEA. The retailer sold physical furniture last year. You know, Scavenger, which is only a year into its new platforms, got 1 million people last month running around doing their stuff. And the story just goes on and on. You know, 1.7 billion apples that, you know, Electronic Arts you know, sold to their users who would feed to their virtual pets. You know, a lot of apples, just crazy. And so, you know, I really want to start us out with, you know, the question that's on all of our minds. I mean, yeah, there's some big numbers. There's lots of people involved. There's lots of craziness involved. But, you know, we're at a business school, so we just want to start right out with show me the money. And so I want to start there. And Teemu, maybe we'll start with you to bring you in right away in virtual land. Monetization. What are your thoughts on this? Is there money here? Where's it going? How's it going? You guys have been in this for a long time, so tell us a little bit about the monetization story.
Yeah, sure. Good morning, guys, and greetings from LA. So, monetization, we actually announced our last year results yesterday, and the company turnover was almost $80 million. And you know, the company is over 10 years old, so we had the best year ever last year, and we saw like the growth around 20% compared to 2009. So definitely the business is growing, and you know, we're aiming to do similar growth this year. And you know, obviously, like if the company is 10 years old, like we're not going to be talking about 100% growth, rather like, you know, 20-25%. But definitely, you know, we are seeing the business booming, and you know, especially like in countries like Brazil and all the other South American countries. Like, I think all the gaming companies are now actually, you know, targeting Brazil as the #1 market. Obviously, U.S. is always the U.S. You have to do well here, but you know, in terms of like where the market is growing, it would be South America right now.
Great. Steve, thoughts on monetization?
Yeah, you know, the interesting thing is that it's broadening, I think, the base of people who are willing to pay for interactive entertainment. You've got demographic groups, you know, the soccer mom stereotype that, you know, has not paid for a game before in her life, maybe has played Scrabble for free online or something, but who is now doing these microtransactions. And so the size of the transaction and the ease of doing it is kind of expanding that base of who is paying. But the amount that they're paying, or the amount that they're paying per unit of gameplay, has really sharply dropped from the traditional game markets, right? You know, so $60 for a console game that you might get, you know, 15 or 20 hours of gameplay out of. It's still a good deal if you compare it to a movie, but it's a lot more money per hour or per you know, unit sale than anything we're seeing in social games, and so that's imposing some downward price pressure on games in general.
So Scavenger, for those of you who may be new, is a location-based social game platform. So what that means is where many of the games that you're used to bring you into the, you know, the cloud of the zone, wherever you are, you're playing Angry Birds, you're just sort of playing something virtual. Our platform takes you into reality, and you play in reality. So we'll be a year old this coming May at Google I/O, which is when we launched a year ago this platform. So the key is building these game dynamics in the real world and connecting. And so for us, in terms of monetization, it comes off a couple of different things. One is how much time people will play at those places. When you think about a brand or a movie or a sports team or a retail partner or another, you know, aspect of a chain, how much time will a consumer engage with me playing? And so first thing is, does this game dynamic at location do that? And so we've had a number of major brands in the last 4 or 5 months launch some pilots where people will play at places 9, 12, 15, 21 minutes per play time. So the difference is that's not sort of on your iPad alone in a plane, that's somewhere with people that you're playing. So that time is the first real key ingredient of what kind of monetization. The second and third themes, which are just interesting, I think, for this group to consider, is who are the partners in that play? There's a place partner, there's a play partner, there can be a reward partner. So when you look at the game dynamics inside of games, it turns out that we're putting those pieces in place for large corporations, large retail establishments, for brand icons. And so think about that combination. This platform for the consumer allows folks that have places to invite brands that have fun content, and I'll give a little case study later, and reward partners to come together for you and I to have some fun with them. So there's at least 3 partners potentially involved. A really interesting monetization conversation as well. The final part is the transactions, right? So folks play and they buy virtual goods. In the real world, they play and they may buy something at the store as a part of the rewarding or recognition structure. They may get an incentive. So then there's the third theme of the transaction itself.
So there's been one really good kind of big market research study on who's playing social games done by PopCap last year, and we do our own internal market research on the IGN audience, which is about 45, 50 million people. So what we know now is that lots and lots of different kinds of people are playing social games. Everybody plays social games, whether you're a guy or a girl, or you're 20 or you're 50. But the soccer mom stereotype tends to be the people who are paying. Right, they are disproportionately contributing to like the 0.5% of game players who are actually paying for these microtransactions. And so I think it's less about engaging a broader audience to play. It's about finding a compelling enough value proposition to get them to pay for it.
The point is that these kind of phones are available, and to all those demographics, and becoming more so, and that the platform itself speaks to those audiences. We have 70 museums that speak to family-type themes in terms of their engagement. So it really opens up the story and the game as well as the access. So we see interestingly enough, if you think about places, location-based demographics, it's typically male and very young. That's not our case. It's broader, and the reason is because of that scriptability. So I think the story is getting broader to the demographics, and of course the access is getting broader. And well, I mean, we see that every day.
South America is really growing, and it's amazing how those markets actually do monetize really well. And there's a couple of interesting markets in Europe where, even for Facebook, I think Turkey is the number 4 market in terms of gaming and revenue. So you're seeing these kind of like not Western countries popping up and really like they have a lot of population and people are now getting like the broadband connections and they're willing to spend. So first of all, our audience teams, everyone has been telling us that you cannot monetize teams. Like, they don't have money, the parents are not going to allow them to pay. But I think we have proven that wrong. And everyone was saying or telling us that, why do you go to Brazil? We went to Brazil before anyone, like, Facebook seeing us or what have you. And so we kind of got the head start. I think Hoppo was the number 9 keyword in terms of Google search in Brazil last year.
What's the intersection of these two phenomena looking like? You've got serious gamers on one side. They've not been quick to jump into social gaming. What's happening there? Where's it going to go?
So the perspective of the traditional gamer looking at social games is basically that these games aren't yet fun enough. They're not fun. They're not fun by a long shot, right? In a lot of ways, these games are anti-social games, right? I mean, the fastest way to get defriended on Facebook is to start, spamming all of your friends with requests to, babysit your spotted brown cow, right? And they're also the only games that you pay not to play, right? Because you may have to feed that spotted brown cow at 12 noon if you got something else to do. If your cow's not going to starve and not give milk the next day or die, you've got to buy for 25 cents the spotted brown cow feed trough or something, right? And so you pay it for the right not to engage with the experience. And while that is a compelling micro reason to pay, it's something that you find valuable, even though it's sort of avoiding a negative. we think that the next generation of social games will be more fun, will become closer to traditional game mechanics, and maybe that's what'll let the games kind of give the traditional gamer a reason to pay.
But I mean, taking that a step further, you know, I mean, we think about serious gamers, we think about high-resolution graphics and all kinds of processing power and so forth.
Well, the barriers to high-end gaming are falling, man. I mean, you know, HTML5, you can do great stuff. There's a new standard called WebGL that is coming out that allows you to do, it's basically a JavaScript extension that allows you to do you know, high-definition 3D graphics in browser. And so the barrier to entry on quality graphical game experience is falling. And so, you know, it'll be possible technically.
And Chris, I mean, do you feel like the same kinds of things? I mean, the technology is, how much does the technology matter in your kind of environment where you're kind of augmenting this physical space with virtual space? Is the technology an important part of the recipe, or more of just a swizzle on the side?
Very important, no question about it, because the technology is the underpinning for the quality of the experience, right? So anybody, whether it's casual or extreme gaming, quality is going to matter. If this is dumb, not interesting, clunky, doesn't matter. So I do think, I think culturally though, the extreme gamer and the casual social gamer, there'll be a continuum, but I don't think you're going to get a lot of the extreme gamers becoming casual. So I just, you know, if you do the analysis and look at the mindset, and these are folks that, you know, huddle up and have, you know, war meetings late at night to figure out the strategy for tomorrow, and they are so deeply engaged. Casual social gaming is not about deep engagement in terms of the game content. It is about social engagement. For us, it is about place engagement. It is certainly about thematic engagement. But the nature of social engagement, particularly location-based reality, is people are moving through their lives. So there's a real difference. I mean, we can do the psychographics, we can do the, you know, the psychology of that, and a number of analysis points. You're not going to, I don't think that group's ever going to become crazy social gaming reality. I think the size of the bandwidth necessary for that kind of computing to occur, you know, has to move along a little bit.
Development is definitely a must, and nowadays, like, you know, it's all about data, numbers. You have to analyze on a daily basis, you know, what are the, you know, the gamers doing, like what do they enjoy, and basically that's going to give you a pretty good idea on how to develop the game further, that they would stick longer. And for our users, the average time spent on the website per visit is 40 minutes. So it's a completely different kind of game compared to most of the other games on the web. So, you know, it's deeply engaging, and you know, there's a lot of other stuff we do, like, you know, celebrities like, you know, Justin Bieber, Lady Gaga, or, you know, Miley Cyrus. They actually come for free in Habbo to, like, talk to their fans. Obviously, like, you know, there's the catch, like, you know, they have either an album coming out or DVD, whatever, a movie, but, you know, that's one way to bring people back in, just like letting teen girls know that, you might have a chance to have Justin Bieber in your virtual room and talk to him like, you know, all of them are going to come for sure. So, you know, there's things like that you can do as well, but most importantly, it's definitely continual development and analyzing what the users are doing and then going from there.
Where's the industry going? What should we expect? I mean, we've got, a lot of different players out there, consolidation happening in some places. Do we expect a lot more big guys sitting on the sideline? Do we expect more jumping in?
Yeah, valuations are inflated right now, although consolidation has been happening. I mean, people have been paying crazy prices, $600 million for sort of, not number one player in a space that is generating $1 billion in revenues as an industry in the US is a little bit crazy. And so, people looking to acquire are going to, have to pay the price for it. But at the same time, it's hard for a smaller, mid-sized social game developer to poke their head up above the crowd. Zynga, finds it very easy to sort of port people into their next game from the game that their 50 million users are already engaged with, but the number twos don't have that luxury. So, so we think that the next wave of consolidation won't necessarily be direct acquisition, but will be a publishing model akin to what has happened in really every other media industry over time, where maybe large media companies, maybe a News Corp or a Viacom will increasingly provide the opportunity for these small developers to be brought to market, to have some advantaged maybe technology platform, and can focus on their core skill of developing the game. And I think that's one major trend. And then I think there will be a blurred distinction between mobile and social games, and mobile games will find ways to become more viral as well.
Yeah. Chris, you guys haven't really invited a lot of competitors yet.
Awesome.
Yeah. Maybe we just end it right there. Don't talk about that, right?
Next question.
Yeah. Do you expect them? I mean, are you guys looking around the corner?
I do. I think there are 5 just huge elements to what we're talking about in terms of these dynamics. There's the social, there's the mobile, there's the gaming, there's the local, and any player that's big in any one of those is trying to figure out how to capitalize on this. I also think there's the transaction itself, right? Because people are transacting business, and so if you just think about from a macro technology, macro social perspective, all of those 5 are really vantage points for attacking the market and this opportunity, because people are responding. I mean, the simple capitalist viewpoint is people enjoy forms of play, and the question is, how does play become a really scalable business model? So you got at least those 5 major industry points where they can go after it, and we sit in a very interesting place because we capitalize on all, but we're really sort of Switzerland in a sense, not to say anything bad about Finland, but we're Switzerland in the sense that we organize the elements of those parts that are really effective for playing. So if you come at it from one of those points, you don't have the ability to really leverage all those points, which is probably why no one's specifically gone after what we do, because that's all we set out to do. Now, how is it we can organize those elements of the mobile experience, the social, the local, and the game mechanics as such that it can be tailored to a lot of different variants. It's not an easy model to build out. So I think that's part of the reason we don't have that. I think you're going to see, when you see the numbers you see, and you see the records that are being set, everybody's trying to figure out how to go after it. So I'm sure there will be consolidation. I'm sure there'll be new publishing models. I'm sure you could probably see carriers try to figure out how to leverage these models. They certainly are just being a conduit, but when you have that kind of real estate, you want to leverage that as well and see what you can do it. So it's going to be a really, really interesting time. I think some pretty amazing partnerships are in the works for folks to try to figure out how can we as a collective take these parts of the market. So, I mean, for me, as a guy that's come through technology, my background's all technology. I've seen technology remake businesses. I mean, as we know, we remember Wang and Digital, and there were companies up here that you don't even know who they are, but they were $5 billion businesses. So those powers are at play here in this shifting world. So it's going to be a great time.
There's a couple of things that I'm really concerned about, or we as a company are. The one thing is really like, it's the price point for these mobile and tablet games that, 99 cents for iPhone and then maybe like $2.99 for iPad. And people are getting used to that. They're getting used to getting good content they can spend like hours and hours on, and just for $1. It's going to create, it's already creating a lot of pressure for companies like ours. And I guarantee that Signa feels the same thing. So, if you get Angry Birds for 99 cents and you can keep playing that, for the next 2 years, you're getting updates. Like, it's crazy when you're asking $65 for a console game. And so I think the monetization models are going to change. Like, we know that EA and Activision and the big boys, like they have to realize that they have to start bringing out console games for maybe like, it's $20, and then the monetization is like as you go and you play the game. Maybe you buy upgrades, whatever. But I think the monetization and the way to do it is going to change quite dramatically during the next few years.
It's my understanding that there is just a huge lack of talent in sort of developer, software developer. There's just basically you can write code and you go to Silicon Valley, you have a job within a day. How are you guys dealing with that lack of talent, or the competition for talent?
It's true. I mean, the war for talent is 100% back, and the premium that a coder, especially a talented engineer in the Valley gets right now is high. And a company like Zynga or Google is paying a premium either to poach from companies or just to make sure that they are advantaged. I mean, for us, for IGN, where we do think of ourselves as much as a technology company, as a media company, we're fighting the ground game. For us, we think we have some cultural advantages, and there are people for whom IGN is a dream job. But man, if I was a really second or third rate social game company trying to make my pitch to somebody who has a competing offer from a Zynga, it's tough. Yeah, it's tough.
I'm not 21. But the average age at the company is about 22 and a half, so it's a pretty young culture, which there's a big message to a lot of folks out there, which is, my experience through the shifts in technology is that it's a new generation that creates those shifts and authors those shifts. And I'm just lucky to have been through a few of them and participated, including this one, so I'm grateful for that. So one is it's the spirit of the company. Two is, is it well positioned for a lot of the things that are happening? We're not a year old with Scavenger. We're going to be a year old in May on the platform. So unlike these companies, which are down the road and what have you, it's a very innovative environment. And so I think it appeals certainly to a certain sort of character and a certain sort of spirit. Obviously, we're a young company, and there's a pre-IPO reality if we earn it. So that's always an interesting economic model, which is slightly different for us. The creativity too matters, and the ability to create, I would say. I mean, the one thing that I've found in any culture is, am I following, or am I participating, or am I actually a creative inputter? So if it's a culture like that, strong, smart, originators of thought like that. The other thing I just say about our culture is it's tough, smart, and tough, smart people like it. It's sort of like I want to bring my strength, and I want to feed off of other folks. I want to feed off of that community. I want to participate in it. It's just kind of how some of us are programmed. You can't get away from it. I'm sure the school engineers that into you too. But so being creative, being original, being in the middle of shift, participating in it, being kind of if you will, an author of the next wave is a big part of it. So you got to want to be in these kind of cultures too. Yeah.
What kind of people are developing the games? Are they people with software engineer background, or I come from a kind of screenwriting film background, sure. Or like marketing, or
So I think there's several groups of folks that participate in building the games for us, and I'll certainly let the other folks talk about it. Our engineers build our platform, which allows the scripting, if you will, and the building of all the dynamics to be automatic, utilities. So it's really not engineers that build the game, it's engineers that build the platform that enables variants of the games. When I think about one of our clients, and we can pick anyone, consumer, a CPG company, a movie, or a movie studio, or on you go, it's oftentimes the producers of the film that think about this. What fun do I want them to have? It's definitely the digital marketing folks. It's definitely brand managers who are thinking about that. It's often the PR department is participating because, hey, we're going to connect to them in the real world, so what's the message? So it's really, really, really interesting, actually, and exciting, because there's a bit of collaboration with a lot of divergent groups. And sometimes it's product managers who are like, for us, because again, we're in the real world, what is it about this product? I'll give you an example. I was down at South by Southwest, and we had meetings with a bunch of different folks, and one of them came in and actually came in to tell me that they had played a game down at South by with Lincoln, the car company. And they said one of the challenges, introduced them to the fact that the new feature at Lincoln is the car key that's programmable. Does anybody know about this? So I didn't, but apparently this guy played Scavenger and learned that the following thing: if you have kids that are 20, you can program the key you give them to go no more than 60. Which is freaky. But the reality is that I'm sitting in a conference room talking to a big brand about their marketing goals, and some product manager about that feature thought about that being a fun challenge for somebody to interact with the car to discover a feature of the car. Kind of boring, certainly, to big game, the classic games, but in the real world, there was a bit of prestige, there was definitely some information, there was storytelling that came out of that challenge. So it wasn't an engineer that came up with that idea. It was obviously a product manager and a marketing manager, and they were interacting with the car and playing a game with the car at this particular South by event. So that's just kind of a sample of one idea of a challenge that kind of got people connected. Okay.
So maybe you want to jump in on that, and then we'll have time for one more question. You want to jump in, Steve?
Well, I think Teemu might have more insight into the creative on game design.
Well, back in the day, it was like our developers were just like creating everything that we put in Habbo. So it was kind of like the era of we think we know what our users want, and nowadays I would want to say actually the users, the people that play the game decide pretty much like what's coming up. So we do surveys within our users like on daily basis, like globally, we probably interact with 20 to 30,000 teams per week, trying to figure out what they want to see in Habbo. And at the end of the day, obviously, like our developers have to decide then based on the information and data, like what are we going to develop next. But we used to be relying on our own staff completely and hoping that they would know what the teams want to play. And like I'm almost 40 and I have no idea what the teams want to do. So you just have to rely on the data that you get and then do like surveys and even real life interviews with your users. If you want to keep them, like you really need to understand what they want to do. So I think that's where the world is really going. The actual users are going to decide, what gets to, what the company is going to develop next for them.
Awesome. Well, I think you got a good snapshot here. I mean, it's an industry in ferment in many ways. Lots of opportunities, lots of excitement, but a lot of different perspectives still. A lot of ferment going on. So, well, let's thank our panelists for coming today.